Honest with you right now. What I'm about to share isn't the kind of thing your father told you before bed. It's not what your teachers drilled into you in school. It's not what society wants you to know. In fact, most men will go to their graves completely blind to this. And that's exactly how the system wants it. Because once you hear what I'm about to tell you, you can't unhear it. It's the kind of knowledge that splits your life into two parts. The time before you knew it, and the time after. 500 years ago, a man named Niccolo Machiavelli put into words the most dangerous truths about human nature ever recorded. So dangerous that the Catholic Church banned his book. So powerful that kings, presidents, CEOs, and generals have studied it in secret, while condemning it in public. Why? Because Machiavelli didn't write theory. He wrote the operating manual for human beings. Not how we pretend to work, not how we wish we worked, but how we actually work. And here's the part that should terrify you. The people who already know these truths are using them against you every single day. In boardrooms, in relationships, in politics, in war. They're playing chess while you're still playing checkers. So ask yourself, why didn't your father teach you this? Why didn't your teachers? The answer is simple. Because their fathers didn't teach them. And because society has programmed you to believe that seeing reality makes you cynical, that strategy makes you manipulative, that understanding power makes you evil. But here's the brutal truth. Ignorance isn't virtue. Ignorance is weakness. And starting right now, I'm going to make you powerful. I'm going to make you dangerous. And once you see these truths, you'll never see human interaction the same way again. So before we go any further, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because what I'm about to reveal will make you see the world differently forever. And you don't want to miss what comes next. You've been told your whole life that humans are rational, that we weigh options, that we calculate outcomes, that we make decisions based on logic and reason. That's a lie. And it's one of the most dangerous lies you've ever been fed. Machiavelli knew the truth 500 years ago. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." Translation, people make choices based on appearances, on illusions, on what looks right, not what is right. And here's the dark reality. Most people don't want the truth. They want comfort. Think about it. The friend who begs you for advice about his failing relationship, but ignores you because the truth would hurt. The coworker who complains he's broke, then throws away money on Starbucks every morning because the ritual feels good. The woman who swears she wants a nice guy, but repeatedly falls into the arms of the man who treats her like an option. Logic dies the moment it collides with desire. Reason evaporates when faced with fear, lust, status, or comfort. That's the game, and you've been playing it wrong. Because you've been told to persuade people with facts, to win arguments with evidence, to show people the rational path. But facts don't move people. Feelings do. The man who masters feelings, who knows how to bypass logic and speak straight to emotion, controls every room he enters. That man doesn't waste time trying to prove he's right. He makes people feel he's right. And that is infinitely more powerful. Think about the greatest manipulators in history. Hitler didn't rise to power with spreadsheets and statistics. He rose with speeches that inflamed anger, fear, and hope. Corporations don't make billions by showing you the chemical formula of soda. They sell you happiness in a bottle. Religions don't spread with philosophy debates. They spread by capturing the heart, the soul, the fear of damnation, and the promise of paradise. This is why you lose arguments. This is why your advice is ignored. This is why the people you want to influence slip through your fingers, because you thought people were rational. They're not. They're addicts chasing feelings. So here's your first dark lesson. Stop trying to change minds with facts. Start shaping emotions. Want to make someone follow you? Don't tell them what's good for them. Show them what makes them feel good about themselves. Want to influence a partner? Don't argue about logic. Make them experience the pain of losing you, or the joy of pleasing you. Want to dominate in business? Forget data. Craft the story that makes your audience believe you're the inevitable winner. The man who argues with facts is a school teacher. The man who manipulates feelings is a king. And once you understand this, you'll see through everyone around you. The politician's smile, the influencer's brand, the co-worker's excuses, all masks designed to protect feelings, not reveal truth. But once you see the mask, once you know that beneath every action is an emotion, a weakness, a hunger, you can pull the strings. And that's just the beginning. Because if people are irrational, then loyalty itself must be an illusion. And that takes us to Machiavelli's next warning. There are only two kinds of men in this world: predators and prey. That's it. Strip away the polite masks, the politics, the morality, and what you're left with is the oldest law of nature. The strong take. The weak are taken from, and here's the hidden cruelty. Weakness doesn't just fail to protect you. It attracts predators, like blood in the water. Think about it. Why do bullies single out the quiet kid, not the fighter? Why do corporations cut the weakest employees first? Why do women abandon the man who bends and cling to the man who stands firm? Because predators always choose the easy meal. Machiavelli knew this. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Not because fear is noble, but because fear keeps the wolves away. Love without strength invites betrayal, but fear without love commands survival." Now here's the sinister twist most men never realize. Weakness doesn't just destroy you. It corrupts everyone around you. A weak man forces others to carry him. A weak man drains the strong until they either cut him loose or collapse with him. A weak man makes the world harsher for everyone else. Because when predators devour him, they don't stop. They look for the next meal. That's why weakness is more dangerous than cruelty. Cruel men at least stand on their own. Weak men become black holes, pulling others down with them. And yet, society tells you to be harmless, to soften yourself, to embrace your weakness. They call it sensitivity. They call it being a better man. But here's the truth. The man who cannot defend himself, his family, or his reputation is not a good man. He's a liability. Strength is not optional. It is the price of survival. And once you accept this, the world looks different. Every interaction becomes a test. Who is predator? Who is prey? Who is strong enough to set the rules? And who is weak enough to follow them blindly? This is why women chase men who radiate strength, because instinctively they know weakness cannot protect them. This is why leaders rise to power, because people would rather obey the strong than be torn apart in the chaos of the weak. And this is why you must decide. Will you be predator or prey? Your father, your teachers, maybe even your mother, they all told you the same thing. Be nice. Be agreeable. Don't make waves. Don't upset anyone. And people will like you. They lied. Machiavelli saw it centuries ago. He wrote, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions." Do you see what he meant? People confuse weakness for goodness. They confuse obedience for virtue, and they confuse being nice with being valuable. That's why women say they want nice guys, but end up with men who break rules. That's why companies praise the team player while promoting the ruthless strategist. That's why the world keeps rewarding the ones you call bad boys, tyrants, sharks. Because here's the truth. Nice is not the same as good. Nice is avoiding conflict because you're afraid. Nice is saying what people want to hear so you'll be liked. Nice is seeking approval, hoping for scraps of validation. Good is something else entirely. Good is having the hard conversation no one else will. Good is saying what needs to be said, even when it makes others uncomfortable. Good is standing firm in principle, even if it makes you hated. Nice guys chase approval. Good men earn respect. And here's the brutal twist. Women don't respect the nice guy. Bosses don't trust the nice guy. Friends don't follow the nice guy. Because niceness without strength is just disguised weakness. And weakness is repulsive. Look at history. Were the greatest leaders nice? Caesar? Alexander? Napoleon? They could be generous, yes. They could be merciful, yes. But only when it served their power. Never at the expense of strength. Look at modern power. CEOs, presidents, champions. Are they nice guys? Not a chance. They're fair. They're just. They protect those who stand with them. But they do not bend for approval. They do not tremble at rejection. They do not fear being disliked. And that's why they're followed. You can be kind without being weak. You can be good without being nice. But you cannot be respected if you are weak. Strength with kindness is magnetic. Weakness with niceness is poison. If you take nothing else from this, take this. Stop trying to be liked. Start demanding to be respected. Because when the choice is between being feared, being loved, or being ignored, the worst fate for a man is to be ignored. The worst fate for a man is to be ignored. Your father probably told you loyalty is everything. Be loyal to your friends. Be loyal to your company. Be loyal to your woman. But Machiavelli, he saw the world for what it is, not what it pretends to be. And his warning was brutal. Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. Read that again. It is safer to be feared than to be loved. Why? Because love is fragile. Love is conditional. Love is loyal, only when it benefits the one giving it. You've seen this play out 1,000 times, but you didn't have the courage to name it. That friend who only calls when he needs something. That company that preaches, "We're a family," until the next round of layoffs. That woman who keeps her options open while demanding your commitment. This isn't loyalty. It's exploitation dressed as loyalty. And here's the part most men never understand. Loyalty without reciprocity isn't noble. It's weakness. A man who keeps giving loyalty to people who don't return it isn't virtuous. He's a fool. And fools are made to be used. Think about the most powerful men you know. Not the ones who pretend, but the ones who actually control their lives. Are they blindly loyal? Do they stick around after betrayal? After disrespect? After being taken for granted? Hell no. They are strategically loyal. They understand loyalty is a contract. And the moment the contract is broken, all bets are off. Here's the cold truth. Loyalty isn't about being a dog who follows no matter what. It's about being a wolf who walks beside those who prove they're worthy, and who bares his teeth the moment they're not. Machiavelli knew this. He saw kings who trusted too much get stabbed in the back. He saw leaders who thought love would protect them, only to be devoured by the same people who swore allegiance. And today, nothing's changed. The workplace, the marketplace, even your own home. Loyalty exists, but only as long as it serves someone's interests. So how do you use this knowledge? Simple. Be generous with your loyalty, but be ruthless about withdrawing it. Test people. Watch how they behave when there's nothing in it for them. Notice who shows up in your storms, not just your sunshine. And never ever keep giving to those who bleed you dry. A man who demands loyalty but never gives it back is a tyrant. But a man who keeps giving loyalty to those who don't return it is a slave. And slaves get broken. So here's the second dark lesson. Never waste loyalty on those who can't or won't return it. Because loyalty without reciprocity isn't love. It isn't honor. It isn't noble. It's weakness. And weakness gets eaten alive. But this raises a terrifying question. If loyalty is fragile, if love is conditional, then what truly protects a man? What shields him from betrayal, from exploitation, from being discarded the moment he's no longer useful? Machiavelli's answer was chilling. Not love, not loyalty, reputation. A man without reputation is already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Translation, it doesn't matter who you are. It matters who they think you are. And that's where most men fail. They think authenticity means showing everything about themselves. They overshare. They expose their fears, their weaknesses, their doubts. They cry about being misunderstood. And then they wonder why no one respects them. But here's the truth. The world doesn't reward the real you. The world rewards the strategic you. Your reputation is the armor that shields you from betrayal, the sword that cuts through lies, the shadow that precedes you into every room. With a strong reputation, enemies hesitate. With a weak reputation, even your friends doubt you. Think about history. Alexander the Great conquered half the known world not just because of strategy, but because of myth. He spread stories that he was invincible, a demigod. His enemies believed it before the battle even began. Or look at modern times. Steve Jobs didn't just build Apple. He built an aura. People called it a reality distortion field. Investors, employees, even rivals bent to his will, because his reputation made them believe he was untouchable. Now compare that to the men you know who constantly complain, constantly explain themselves, constantly try to convince others to see their true heart. They're not respected. They're pitied. Here's the dark lesson. Perception is reality. And if you don't control perception, someone else will control it for you. Want to be seen as competent? Never whine about problems. Present solutions. Want to be seen as valuable? Don't always be available. Scarcity creates worth. Want to be seen as powerful? Never explain your decisions to people who can't affect your life. This is strategic authenticity. Not being fake, but revealing only the parts of yourself that serve your goals. Reputation is like fire. Left unattended, it dies. Spread too wildly, it burns you alive. But controlled, it gives light, warmth, and fear. And here's the cruelest part. Once your reputation is tainted, it takes a lifetime to restore, if it ever comes back at all. A single crack can destroy years of work. So you must guard it more fiercely than your money, more fiercely than your relationships. Because your reputation is your passport into power, and without it you're already exiled. But reputation alone isn't enough, because there will always be those who try to destroy it, those who envy it, those who want your place. And that brings us to Machiavelli's next warning. There is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others.
Hello there. Head and shoulders. Didn't know you had dandruff.
I don't.
I don't either, if you're asking.
Head and shoulders helps wash away dandruff and prevent it coming back.
I can speak, goat.
Okay, Android, I have been a big fan of wrestling since I was a child. Please give me some rest.
It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. Most men believe peace is normal and war is an exception. Machiavelli knew the opposite. He wrote, "There is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others." Understand this. Conflict is not something that might happen. Conflict is something that is always happening. In silence, in whispers, in shadows. The only question is whether you're ready for it, or whether you'll be devoured when it arrives. Think of your life like a battlefield. In your career, someone is always watching your position, waiting for you to stumble so they can replace you. In your relationships, there's always another man willing to take your place if you grow weak. In your social circle, there's always someone testing your boundaries, seeing how far they can push before you break. And here's the brutal reality. If you're not prepared for war, you've already lost. The successful men you admire, the ones who rise above, they aren't surprised by conflict. They expect it. They train for it. They prepare during peace, so they don't bleed during war. A warrior doesn't sharpen his blade the moment the enemy arrives. He sharpens it every morning, even when the field looks quiet. So how does this look in your world? In business, Amazon stockpiles cash, crushes competitors before they grow. They prepare long before the market shifts. In politics, nations build arsenals, make alliances, and infiltrate rivals during so-called peace. In your personal life, the man who stays in shape even when he isn't threatened, the man who builds his savings when money flows, the man who cultivates allies when he doesn't need them, that man survives when storms come. Machiavelli gave us the animal parable. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Do you see it? You must be both. Cunning enough to see danger before it arrives, strong enough to crush it when it does. Most men choose one. They are clever but weak, the fox who eventually gets torn apart. Or they are strong but blind, the lion who falls into traps he never saw coming. But the man who becomes both, that man is untouchable. Here's the dark law. Don't start wars, but be prepared to finish every single one. Because here's a secret that weak men never grasp. The man who is visibly prepared for war rarely has to fight at all. Why? Because predators sense strength, and they always choose the weaker target. So build yourself into a man others are afraid to test. Not because you're violent, not because you're reckless, but because you radiate readiness. Train when no one is watching. Save when everyone else spends. Study when everyone else is distracted. Forge yourself into a weapon before the battle begins. Then, when war comes, and it will come, you won't panic. You'll already be ready. But let's be clear. Even with strength, cunning, reputation, and readiness, most men still get destroyed for one simple reason. Because they confuse being nice with being strong. And that's the final lie your father told you. People like to imagine that honesty rules the world, that truth rises to the top, that integrity always wins. That's the fairy tale. The reality? Deception has built kingdoms, toppled empires, and carved the path of history more than honesty ever has. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promises." Read that again. He didn't say some men lie. He didn't say only the wicked betray. He said, every leader, every ruler, every person of power eventually deceives. Because deception is not corruption. Deception is survival. Look at the natural world. The fox pretends weakness to lure prey. The snake camouflages itself before it strikes. The anglerfish hides in darkness, waving its glowing lure until the victim swims into its jaws. Humans are no different. Politicians sell you dreams they never intend to deliver. Corporations drape poison in marketing campaigns of family, joy, and freedom. Even in your own home, people promise loyalty, love, forever, and mean it only until it costs them. And yet most men cling to the illusion that honesty will protect them, that if they are good enough, the world will reward them. Fools. Machiavelli knew the truth. The deceiver will never lack victims, because men are simple, because men are desperate to believe the lie that comforts them. Here's the brutal part. If you refuse to deceive, you will still be deceived. If you refuse to play the game, you will still be a piece on someone else's board. Does this mean you should lie endlessly, cheat recklessly, betray at every turn? Number. That's what idiots think power is. But it means you must master the art of controlled deception, showing masks, hiding knives, revealing just enough to keep others blind to your real intentions. The world doesn't reward pure honesty. The world rewards strategic honesty. Tell the truth when it strengthens you. Lie when it protects you. Break promises when keeping them would destroy you. And above all, never forget that everyone else is already doing the same. Here's the law no one dares admit. The honest man isn't noble. He's prey.
It wasn't that long ago when I couldn't have any of this. I had pain from eating hot things, cold things.
You've been told your whole life that morality is absolute, that there's good and there's evil, that the righteous are rewarded and the wicked are punished. But Machiavelli saw through that illusion. He understood what most men never will. Morality is not truth. Morality is control. Think about it. Who decides what's good? Not you, not the masses, but the powerful. When rulers want obedience, they call it virtue, to submit. When leaders want sacrifice, they call it honor, to die for them. When elites want control, they redefine evil as anything that threatens their authority, and the masses swallow it whole. Because believing in morality feels safe. It feels like the universe has order, like justice always wins. But history spits on that illusion. The church burned men alive in the name of morality. Nations justified slavery, conquest, and genocide in the name of morality. Modern governments bomb cities and call it defending freedom. Morality isn't about truth. It's about narrative. And those who control the narrative control morality itself. Here's the darker twist. The powerful rarely obey the morality they preach. They don't have to. They create it for you. They tell you it's wrong to lie, while deceiving you daily. They tell you it's wrong to be ruthless, while crushing competitors without hesitation. They tell you it's wrong to be selfish, while hoarding wealth and resources. Why? Because a population that believes in fixed morality is easy to rule. They'll police themselves. They'll condemn each other. They'll bow to authority thinking it's righteous. Meanwhile, the powerful break those rules whenever they need to, because they know morality is just a tool, not a truth. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must learn how not to be good, and to use this knowledge, or not use it, according to necessity. This is the real law. Do not discard morality entirely. Wield it. Appear moral when it serves you. Break morality when survival demands it. And above all, never become a prisoner of someone else's moral code. Because the man who clings to morality at all costs is a pawn. But the man who bends morality to his will is a king. Every empire, every company, every family, every relationship survives on the same hidden economy. Not money, not love, not honor, but fear and reward. Machiavelli understood this law with brutal clarity. He knew men are not moved by abstract ideals, but by immediate sensations. The fear of pain and the hunger for pleasure. Strip away the decorations of morality, religion, politics, and you'll find the same machinery underneath. Kings keep their crowns not by divine right, but because the people fear their wrath more than they hate their rule. Corporations keep employees in line with the dangling carrot of a promotion and the whip of unemployment. Parents raise children not through wisdom alone, but through rewards and punishments woven into daily life. This is the true law of power. He who controls the balance of fear and reward controls the man. Look around you. The politician who promises safety from enemies while offering tax breaks. The preacher who promises paradise while warning of hellfire. The lover who withholds affection as punishment, then floods it as reward. These aren't accidents. They are ancient, deliberate tactics. Most men fail because they only offer one side. They try to lead with love, giving rewards endlessly until their gifts lose value. Or they try to lead with fear, ruling with cruelty until rebellion brews. Machiavelli knew the secret. The art is in the balance. Too much reward breeds entitlement. Too much fear breeds revolt. But a man who can alternate between both, who can withhold affection to create hunger, then deliver it at the peak of desire, that man creates loyalty stronger than chains. Think of the abusive relationship where the victim stays. Why? Because after the cruelty comes kindness. After the storm comes calm. The cycle itself becomes addictive. Think of the tyrant who survives decades in power. Why? Because he punishes enough to inspire fear, but rewards just enough to prevent despair. And now turn the mirror to yourself. How do you influence others? Through endless giving, hoping they'll love you, or through cold control, forcing them to obey? Both are weak. The true Machiavellian mixes the two like poison and honey, crafting dependence so deep that escape feels impossible. This is how you must think. What does this person fear losing most? What does this person crave most desperately? And how can I position myself as the one who controls both? Once you answer that, you own them. People speak of trust as if it were stone, unshakable, permanent, sacred. But Machiavelli knew better. Trust is not stone. Trust is glass. It shines. It's beautiful. It reflects light. But the moment it cracks, it shatters, and it will never be whole again. Here's the first dark law. Trust is temporary. It exists only as long as it benefits both sides. Think about your own life. How quickly did a friend's trust in you vanish the moment you failed to serve their needs? How quickly did your trust in a leader collapse after a single betrayal? How many relationships have died over one broken promise, no matter how many good deeds came before it? This is not the exception. This is the rule. The man who builds his life on trust is building on glass, and eventually, it will break beneath his feet. But here's where the strong separate from the weak. The weak beg for trust. They make oaths, they plead, they demand belief in their true intentions. And when that trust shatters, they collapse with it. The strong never beg for trust. They engineer it. They manufacture it through repetition, image, and controlled exposure. They use it as a tool, never as a foundation. Think of the con artist. He survives not because he is truly trustworthy, but because he knows how to look trustworthy. Think of the politician. He doesn't need genuine trust. He needs just enough to get the votes. Think of the seducer. He doesn't require unconditional trust. He needs just enough to lower defenses. That's the second dark law. Trust doesn't need to be real. It only needs to be convincing. And the third law is even darker. The man who trusts too much is easier to control than the man who trusts nothing at all. Because the man who trusts blindly will hand you the keys to his own destruction. He will forgive betrayal after betrayal, convinced you'll change. He will believe excuses no matter how hollow. He will cling to the illusion of trust long after it has died, because the alternative terrifies him. This is why weak men are devoured. They think trust is proof of love, proof of honor, proof of morality. But in truth, trust is just leverage. And those who understand this hold the leash around every blind believer's neck. So burn this into your mind. Never depend on trust. Use it, shape it, exploit it. But never rest your survival on it. Because trust is not stone. It is glass. And it was made to break. You've now seen what most men will never see. That people are not rational. They are emotional. That loyalty without reciprocity is weakness. That reputation is armor sharper than steel. That war is not coming. It is always here. That niceness is weakness disguised as virtue. That fear outlasts love. That deception is survival. That masks are necessary. That morality is a cage. That betrayal is inevitable. That fear and reward are the true currencies of control. And that trust, the thing most men cling to, is nothing but glass waiting to shatter. You were told not to know this. You were trained to close your eyes, obey, play nice, be harmless. But now the blindfold is off. Now you see the world not as it pretends to be, but as it truly is. And here's the most dangerous part. You can't go back. You can't unknow this. From this moment on, you'll see every smile as a mask, every promise as bait, every act of virtue as a strategy. You've stepped into the darkness, and once you've seen it, the light will never blind you again. So the question is no longer, will you learn these truths? You already have. The question is, will you use them? Because knowledge like this is a weapon. In the hands of the weak, it festers into paranoia and fear. But in the hands of the strong, it becomes power. The kind of power that bends the world. If you're strong enough to carry it, then walk forward with it. If you're too weak, then bury it and pretend you never heard me speak. But for those who are ready to take the next step into this abyss, this is only the beginning. Machiavelli left us more than warnings. He left us blueprints for influence, for dominance, for survival. And I'll show you every single one. So if you want more, if you want to go deeper into the strategies that rulers, seducers, generals, and kings have used for centuries, then listen carefully. Like this video. Subscribe now. Because the next lesson will not make you comfortable. It will make you untouchable. And when that happens, you will never be ignored again.
Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. I watched my best friend destroy himself being the good guy. He gave everything. forgave everyone, sacrificed his peace for people who didn't even remember his name. 3 years later, I saw him again. He wasn't broken anymore. He was ruthless. And he told me something I'll never forget. He said, "The world didn't change. I did. I stopped being easy to break." That sentence stuck with me, because deep down, I realized it wasn't just his story. It was mine. And it's yours, too. Right now, there are 2 versions of you. Version 1, the one that explains, apologizes, tolerates, and keeps hoping people will change. You bend over backwards to be understood, respected, loved. But the more you give, the less they see your value. Then there's version 2, the silent one, the certain one, the one who doesn't argue, doesn't beg, doesn't chase. They just remove, without noise, without guilt. You've been living as version 1 for too long, and it's killing you. It's made you soft where you should be sharp, kind where you should be calculated. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And he wasn't talking about cruelty. He was talking about control, about knowing when to stop being the person who breaks for others. Today, I'm going to show you how to awaken version 2, the ruthless version of you. The one Machiavelli wrote about. The one people sense but can never manipulate. There are 8 shifts that separate these 2 versions of you. Each one will demand a piece of your old self. Each one will feel like you're burning what used to define you. But if you stay until the end, you'll walk away unrecognizable to the person you were before. You'll stop seeking peace from others and start generating it from within. You'll learn the power of being untouchable. Because this world will break you, unless you become ruthless. And before we begin, I want you to drop this in the comments. I will not break again. Number 1, stop giving yourself to the ungrateful. The first transformation into ruthlessness begins when you realize this. Your biggest weakness was never your heart. It was where you placed it. You've been bleeding energy into people who feed off your light, but never once give it back. You kept helping, forgiving, explaining, hoping that maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see your worth. But they never do. Why? Because in the psychology of power, what's freely given is subconsciously devalued. People instinctively equate generosity with inferiority. They assume if you give too easily, it's because you need to be liked. And the moment someone senses your need, they control you. That's how weakness is born. Not from failure, but from emotional dependence disguised as kindness. Machiavelli once said, "Men are quicker to offend one who is loved than one who is feared." The ungrateful exploit your goodness precisely because they don't fear losing it. They know you'll stay. They know you'll forgive. They know that no matter how badly they treat you, you'll rationalize their behavior with excuses like, they're just going through something. That's not compassion. That's self-delusion. The truth is, people remember pain, not kindness. They respect consequences, not explanations. The more predictable your mercy, the more invisible you become. Every time you tolerated disrespect, you trained them to see you as disposable. Every time you explained your worth, you confirmed you had to prove it. That's the silent psychology behind why the good get broken first. The world doesn't destroy you because you're kind. It destroys you because you confuse being kind with being harmless. The ungrateful are predators in human form. They don't hunt your body, they hunt your guilt. They make you feel bad for protecting yourself. They twist your empathy into a weapon and stab you with it. So, stop thinking you owe anyone your loyalty just because you once cared. Your care is a privilege, not a right. Give it only to those who have earned it through consistent respect. Everyone else should feel the sharpness of your absence. Detachment is your defense. Indifference is your revenge. Machiavelli understood this deeply when he said, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous." He was warning you, never give power to the ungrateful, because they'll use it to weaken you. You must unlearn the belief that being good will save you. Goodness without boundaries is a death sentence. Ruthlessness is not cruelty, it's correction. It's the moment you stop rewarding betrayal with access. When you stop answering every call, stop forgiving every lie, stop explaining your silence, the ungrateful panic. They realize they can't feed off your emotional reactions anymore. That's when power shifts. You become the one who decides who gets your attention and who fades into irrelevance. The world belongs to those who conserve their energy like a weapon, not those who waste it like a wish. Every ounce of strength you pour into the wrong people is power stolen from your future. Withdraw it, hoard it, rebuild it. Let them wonder what happened to your warmth. Tell them it froze when you finally saw the truth. Some people deserve your distance more than your devotion. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My kindness has limits.
This is the Head and Shoulders guy.
Shoulders? Didn't know you had dandruff.
I don't.
It's blood we need more people to give to save lives. So come and join the thousands of us, given 1 hour to save up to 3 lives.
Number 2, turn pain into power. Pain is the purest teacher because it never lies. It doesn't flatter your ego. It doesn't care about your excuses. It exposes you, strips you, burns everything weak inside you until only the real you remains. The difference between the broken and the powerful isn't the amount of pain they've felt. It's what they did with it. Weak people drown in pain because they keep searching for fairness. They still think the world owes them healing. But ruthless minds know the truth. Pain is currency. You either spend it building yourself or waste it by complaining. The ones who rise from destruction are not lucky. They're strategic. They look at betrayal, heartbreak, and failure, and instead of asking, "Why me?" they ask, "What is this teaching me about control?" Machiavelli once said, "Never waste the opportunity offered by a good crisis." Every moment of suffering is an opportunity to evolve into someone untouchable. Pain is not punishment. It's information. It tells you exactly where your weakness lives. Every betrayal shows you who you trusted too easily. Every rejection reveals where you placed your worth. Every loss exposes the illusion of permanence. When you start viewing pain through that lens, it stops being a wound and becomes a weapon. You start using it to sharpen your mind instead of destroy it. The dark psychology of transformation lies in transmuting suffering into strategy. Most people cry to feel better. The strong reflect to get stronger. When they're hurt, they don't chase closure. They create power. They study their enemies instead of hating them. They analyze their mistakes instead of escaping them. They turn every heartbreak into emotional discipline, every disappointment into focus. That's the essence of Machiavellian resilience, to use the world's cruelty as fuel, not as chains. Pain is the forge where dominance is born. When life breaks you, it's showing you who you really are without masks. Stop running from it. Sit with it. Feel every ounce of the fire. Because once you survive your own suffering, no one else can control you with fear. The moment you stop fearing pain, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. When others try to manipulate you through guilt or rejection, it no longer works, because you've already faced worse and survived. Machiavelli believed that a wise man learns more from misfortune than from comfort. That's because pain activates awareness. It forces evolution. It silences illusion. You start seeing people for who they are, not who you wished they'd be. You start choosing logic over emotion. The more you endure, the less reactive you become. You move like someone who's already been through the fire and lived. That energy commands respect because it's dangerous. People feel it when you walk into a room, the aura of someone who has turned every wound into wisdom. You no longer carry scars with shame. You wear them like armor. Your silence becomes heavy, your gaze steady. That's when you know you've crossed over from being shaped by pain to shaping others through it. The next time life hurts you, don't curse it. Study it. Ask yourself, what advantage is hidden here? Because every moment of agony carries a seed of dominance if you're ruthless enough to use it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My pain builds power. Number 3, kill the need to be understood. The hunger to be understood is the trap that keeps powerful minds chained to mediocrity. You keep explaining yourself, hoping people will see your intentions, your goodness, your truth. But here's the harsh reality. Most don't care to understand you. They only care to categorize you. They don't listen to comprehend. They listen to find weakness. The more you explain, the more information you give them to use against you. In dark psychology, understanding equals control. When people know your motives, they know how to manipulate you. That's why the ruthless stay silent. They let others guess, project, assume. And in that confusion, they remain untouchable. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. And to command, you must never over-explain. Because explaining is a defensive act. It reveals that you still seek validation. Power doesn't justify itself. It simply exists. The most intimidating people are the ones who don't explain why they act, feel, or disappear. Their silence creates tension. That tension creates respect. The weak beg to be seen. The strong choose to be misunderstood. You must understand that when you stop defending yourself, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is fear's twin. People can't control what they can't read. That's why rulers, leaders, and strategists throughout history mastered the art of ambiguity. They spoke less than they knew and acted more than they explained. You must learn to do the same. Every time you rush to explain your intentions, you give away the blueprint of your emotions. You're teaching others how to disarm you. The dangerous thing about being transparent is that it invites dissection, and dissection always kills the magic of power. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does, finally." The wise stop justifying themselves early, while the fool keeps talking until he's exposed. You don't owe anyone clarity about your choices. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your distance, your silence, your standards, or your change. Let them misunderstand. Let them assume you've become cold, arrogant, detached. Every false label they give you adds another layer to your armor. The moment you stop trying to correct them, you regain control. Because control lives in restraint. Silence is not weakness. It's weaponized composure. It makes others nervous because they can't predict your next move. And uncertainty makes them cautious. That's psychological dominance. Think of the most powerful people you've ever met. They weren't loud. They were composed. Their presence demanded attention, not because they shouted, but because they didn't need to. Every word they didn't say spoke louder than 1,000 justifications. You must become that kind of presence, a mystery no one can fully grasp, a storm that doesn't announce itself. When someone tries to provoke you, let your silence suffocate their ego. When someone misjudges you, let them sit in their own assumption. The truth is your weapon. Don't waste it proving your innocence. Those who need to understand you don't deserve to. Those who truly value you will never need an explanation. Power is not about convincing others. It's about becoming so self-assured that their confusion no longer matters. Once you stop needing to be understood, you finally begin to understand yourself. Hey, stop for a second and really listen. This is going to shake up everything you've believed since you were a kid. From the day you could walk, people trained you like a puppy. Sit, stay, be nice, don't bark. They told you good guys finish first. That patience pays off. That if you just play by the rules, life will hand you the trophy. Cute story. Total lie. The world doesn't hand out prizes to the sweet ones. It hands them to the ones who see the game underneath the game, who spot the strings on the puppets, the smoke behind the mirrors, the real price tags on every smile. Here's the raw truth most folks can't stomach. Honesty doesn't earn respect. Strategy does. Machiavelli saw through it all 5 centuries back, when everyone else was polishing their halos. He caught kings preaching, "Be kind," while plotting moves that crushed empires. He watched priests trade salvation for silver. He cracked the code. The system stays in charge by keeping people peaceful, obedient, and in the dark. That's where you come in. You've been following instructions your entire life. Lower your voice, swallow your pride, wait your turn. Apologize even when you're right. Those instructions weren't meant to build you up. They were meant to keep you small. A planet full of small people is easy to steer. A planet full of awake, hungry minds. That's a wildfire nobody can control. So today we flip the script. Today we rip the blindfold off and stare straight at the 10 society rules that have been chaining you since kindergarten. Break these, and you stop being background noise. You start being the guy people move for when you walk into a room. But first, do one thing right now. Type it in the comments. I choose power. Say it out loud if you're alone. Let it hit your chest. That single line is your contract with yourself. No more waiting for permission to take up space. No more shrinking so someone else feels tall. This ride is going to sting a little. You'll squirm when you see how much of your nice guy armor is just fear in disguise. That's the point. Comfort is the cage. Truth is the key. Machiavelli didn't write for the soft. He wrote for the ones ready to trade pleasant for powerful. If that's you, buckle up. We're about to smash every rule that ever told you to stay in your lane. Rule 1. Quit trying to fit in. From the second you popped out, the world started whispering in your ear. Blend, match the wallpaper, don't stick out. Teachers, parents, friends, they all sang the same lullaby, sounded safe, felt warm. Total trap. Blending in is the express lane to nowhere. You vanish. Nobody remembers the guy who looks, talks, and dreams exactly like the next 10 dudes in line. They're background noise. You want influence, admiration, real respect? Then stop auditioning for the role of extra. Check history. Every name that still echoes, Edison, Einstein, Elon, whoever, got there by refusing the cookie cutter. They wore weird clothes, asked dumb questions, chased ideas that made people laugh. They walked their own road while the herd followed the GPS. That's not ego. That's oxygen. Machiavelli clocked this centuries ago. He told princes to watch out for the guy who doesn't flinch when the room glares. That guy can't be guilt-tripped, shamed, or peer-pressured into line. He's not waiting for a gold star to breathe. That independence scares the system stiff. So why are you still sanding down your edges? Why mute the joke only you think is funny? Why hide the dream that keeps you up at 3 a.m.? Because somebody once said, "That's weird," and you believed them. Come on. The trap is slick. Act normal and you'll be safe. Safe gets you a cubicle and a pat on the head. Safe gets you forgotten by Friday. Power starts the second you quit apologizing for the parts of you that don't match the brochure. Your quirks aren't flaws, they're fingerprints. The way you laugh too loud, the random facts you hoard, the playlist nobody else gets, that's your brand. Lean into it. People magnetize to the guy who owns his weird without a disclaimer. You don't need neon hair or a megaphone. Quiet confidence hits harder. Wear the shirt you love, even if it's out. Speak the opinion that makes the table pause. Post the thought that might get eye rolls. Every time you choose real over rehearsed, your stock rises. Conformity is a slow suicide of the soul. Authenticity is the defibrillator. One keeps you replaceable. The other makes you the only option. Machiavelli put it blunt. The great ones always look different from the pack. Not because they try, they just refuse to shrink. Your job isn't to slip unnoticed through life. Your job is to walk in and shift the air. Let the average squirm. Let the insecure whisper. The guy brave enough to stand solo is the guy the crowd eventually orbits. Drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I stand apart. Mean it. Say it like you're signing a contract with your future self. No more camouflage. From this second forward, your difference isn't a risk. It's your crown. Rule 2. Always tell the truth. They told you since childhood, always tell the truth. Honesty is pure. Honesty makes you a good person. But here is what they never mentioned. Pure honesty destroys powerful man. Not because truth is bad, but because revealing everything makes you predictable, exposed, and easy to control. In the real world, the man who speaks without filters is the man who loses leverage. He shows his plans before he acts. He reveals his fears before he understands them. He exposes his intentions before they mature. And society uses every piece of truth you give them against you. People don't respect radical honesty. They exploit it. They weaponize it. They twist it. They judge it. They gossip about it. They use it to place you in a box you cannot break out of. Understand this clearly. When you overshare, you surrender power. Because power is not in what you say. Power is in what you choose not to say. Machiavelli understood this completely. He wrote that a ruler must appear honest, but never reveal everything. He believed that truth is a tool, not a commandment. Because once people know your intentions, they can block your path. Once people know your weaknesses, they can break your spirit. Once people know your dreams, they can sabotage your future. In silence, you are untouchable. In mystery, you are respected. In controlled truth, you are powerful. You don't need to lie. You need to select to choose what is revealed and what remains hidden. To speak with purpose, not emotion. To share with precision, not impulse. Not everyone deserves to know your mindset. Not everyone is worthy of your struggle. Not everyone can handle your truth without turning it into a weapon. The wise man uses truth the way a strategist uses a blade, carefully, precisely, and only when it strengthens his position. When someone asks you a question, pause. Think. Ask yourself, does answering this benefit me? Does it protect me? Does it weaken me? Does it give the other person power? The strong man is not the man who tells everything. The strong man is the man who knows what to keep. Society wants you transparent because transparency makes you easy to manipulate. But mystery creates gravity. Mystery creates interest. Mystery creates respect. The less they know, the more they want to know. And the more they want to know, the more power you hold. As Machiavelli once said, a wise ruler should never reveal all his intentions. That line alone can save you from a lifetime of being underestimated. So from today forward, control your truth, shape your story, protect your mind. And I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is power. Rule 3, be humble all the time. Excess humility makes you invisible, and invisible men are never respected. Humility, when used wisely, is a shield, but when used blindly, it becomes a cage. People misunderstand humility. They think being humble means lowering your presence, hiding your talent, shrinking your abilities, and pretending you're less than you are. But that's not humility. That's self-erasure. And self-erasure breeds disrespect, because people don't value what you hide. People don't admire what you downplay. People don't respect what you pretend not to possess. You see, the world is full of individuals who quietly hope the talented will dim their light, because your strength exposes their weakness. Your growth threatens their comfort. Your confidence reminds them of their own fear. So they push this idea. Stay humble. Don't appear strong. Why? Because a man who owns his power is harder to control. Machiavelli understood this psychological game. He wrote that a ruler must appear virtuous but never surrender his strategic advantage. He understood that humility can be a mask, a way to disarm rivals while still protecting your authority. Real humility is not acting weak. Real humility is remaining grounded even when you know your worth. It's knowing your strength but choosing not to boast. It's having power but not needing to rub it in. It's showing confidence without arrogance. But society wants you to take humility to the extreme, to the point where you vanish. Here's the truth. If you don't show your value, others will define your value for you. If you don't claim your abilities, others will claim your opportunities. If you don't stand tall, others will stand on you. You don't need to yell your greatness. You just need to stop hiding it. Stand straight. Speak clearly. Own your progress. Acknowledge your talents. Accept your strengths openly. Not aggressively, not loudly, but confidently. Because when you show your value without apology, the world reacts differently. People listen more carefully. People treat you more seriously. People respect you more deeply. Watch what happens when a king leaves his throne for a month. The kingdom doesn't fall apart. Something stranger happens. People start whispering. Rumors spread. His name gets mentioned in every conversation. His absence becomes the most present thing in the room. Now, watch what happens to the king who sits on his throne every day, visible to everyone, available to every request. He becomes invisible. This is the paradox of power that Machiavelli understood centuries ago. Constant visibility breeds contempt. Strategic absence breeds reverence. You think your presence makes you important. It doesn't. It makes you ordinary, predictable, something the world expects and therefore ignores. But your absence forces the world to remember you exist. Machiavelli said it clearly. Men value more the things they find hard to obtain, not the things sitting in front of them, not the people who show up every single day, the things that vanish, the people who withdraw, the forces that refuse to be controlled. Here's the truth that will change everything. You've been playing the game backwards. You thought being seen created power. You thought being accessible created respect. You thought constant engagement made you matter. It did the opposite. It turned you into background noise. When you disappear, something shifts. The algorithm of human attention rewrites itself. Your value doesn't decrease, it multiplies, because scarcity is the only currency that never loses worth. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Absence creates power. Society is a cage designed to keep you visible and available. They want you online, responding, reacting, posting, commenting, always present, always engaged, always giving your attention to whatever they put in front of you. Why? Because visibility makes you controllable. When you're always there, always responsive, always participating, you're predictable. And predictable people have no power. They're sheep following the herd, convinced their constant presence matters. It doesn't matter. It just makes you easier to ignore. The game is simple. Availability destroys value. Scarcity creates it. This isn't about relationships. This isn't about playing hard to get. This is about understanding the fundamental law of power that governs everything from ancient kingdoms to modern social dynamics. When you're everywhere, you're nowhere. When you're always speaking, nobody listens. When you're constantly available, you become a tool that people use and discard without thinking twice. But strategic withdrawal? That's different. That's declaring that your presence has weight, that your time isn't free, that access to you is earned, not assumed. Most people will never understand this. They're addicted to visibility, terrified of being forgotten. They think disappearing means losing relevance. They're wrong. Disappearing is how you gain it. Withdrawal isn't retreat. It's a psychological weapon. It's you refusing to play by rules designed to keep you weak. What I'm about to reveal are 7 principles that Machiavelli would recognize instantly. 7 laws that transform absence from weakness into dominance. 7 truths that separate those who get used from those who hold power. This isn't theory. This is how the game actually works. Strip away the comfort. Embrace the discomfort of your own absence, because when you vanish, the world finally notices you were there. Number 1. The power of withdrawal. There's a specific type of panic that sets in when someone loses access to you. Not the dramatic kind, not the obvious kind. It's subtle. It creeps in slowly. They check their messages. They wonder why you haven't replied. They start questioning what changed. This is psychological imbalance, and you created it without saying a word. See, human minds hate unfinished business. They hate unanswered questions. They hate when patterns break. Your presence was a pattern. Your availability was predictable. Your responses were guaranteed. Then you stopped, and their mind can't handle it. This is what withdrawal actually does. It doesn't make you forgotten. It makes you the only thing they can think about, because the brain doesn't focus on what it has. It obsesses over what it lost. You were never more present than when you disappeared. Machiavelli once said, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." But here's the deeper truth buried in his work. Intelligent rulers know when to be absent. They understand that constant visibility makes them ordinary. Strategic absence makes them legendary. Think about every powerful figure throughout history. They weren't powerful because they were always available. They were powerful because getting to them was nearly impossible. Their time was guarded. Their presence was rare. Access to them was a prize, not a guarantee. You've been doing the opposite. You've been the person anyone can reach any time, the person who drops everything to respond, the person whose door is always open. And what did that create? Familiarity, comfort, the assumption that you'll always be there. Withdrawal shatters that assumption. It introduces doubt. It creates distance. It forces people to confront the possibility that maybe you won't always be available. Maybe you have boundaries they never noticed. Maybe you're not as easy to control as they thought. This is uncomfortable for them. Good. Discomfort is what makes people reassess value. When you're always present, you become part of the furniture. Expected. Ordinary. Something they walk past without noticing. But absence? Absence breaks the illusion of permanence. It reminds them that your presence isn't guaranteed, that you could choose to stay gone. And that terrifies them more than they'll admit. Stay gone. And that terrifies them more than they'll admit. Silent withdrawal is the most violent form of communication. It says everything without saying anything. It tells them that something shifted, that you're not playing by the old rules anymore, that access to you now has conditions they don't understand yet. They'll try to figure out what changed. They'll replay conversations. They'll wonder if they said something wrong. They'll check to see if you're active elsewhere, if you're ignoring them specifically, or if you've genuinely disappeared. All of this mental energy, all of this attention, is now focused on you, the person who isn't even there. This is the power of withdrawal. You become more influential in your absence than you ever were in your presence. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Silence breaks illusions. Number 2, the illusion of constant availability. You were trained for this. From childhood, they taught you that being available means being good. Answer when called, show up when needed, be there for everyone, drop what you're doing to help, never leave anyone waiting. And somewhere in that training, you learn to abandon yourself. Because constant availability isn't kindness. It's self-destruction. It's saying your time has no value. Your energy has no limit. Your life exists to serve whoever demands it. This is how they condition compliance, make you believe that boundaries are selfish, that saying no makes you bad, that protecting your time means you don't care. It's a trap, and you walked right into it. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you kill a piece of yourself. Every time you make yourself available when you need rest, you teach the world that your needs don't matter. Every time you respond immediately, you train people that your attention is cheap. This isn't about being cold. This isn't about not helping people. This is about recognizing that unlimited availability is psychological slavery. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions." You've been the victim. The immediate need was someone else's. The deception was that meeting it made you valuable. It didn't. It made you useful. There's a difference. Useful people get used. Valuable people get respected. When you're constantly available, you're a resource to be extracted, a tool to be picked up when needed and put down when not. People don't think about tools. They just use them. But when you become unavailable, when access to you becomes limited, when your time suddenly has conditions, you stop being a tool. You become a person they have to consider, plan around, respect. This shift doesn't happen because you announced it. It happens because you embodied it. You stopped answering every call. You stopped responding within seconds. You stopped rearranging your life to accommodate everyone else's schedule. And suddenly, your time meant something. Here's what nobody tells you about saying yes all the time. It doesn't make people like you more. It makes them respect you less. Because deep down, everyone knows that people who stand for nothing fall for everything. People who have no boundaries get walked over. People who never say no have no sense of self-worth. You thought being available made you important. It made you forgettable. Because important people are hard to reach. Important people guard their time. Important people understand that scarcity creates demand. Your aura, that invisible force that makes people take you seriously, dies every time you make yourself too available. Every instant response, every dropped plan to accommodate someone else, every moment where you put others before yourself without them earning it. That's not generosity. That's self-abandonment. And the worst part, people don't even value what you're giving. They expect it. They assume it. They get annoyed when you suddenly can't deliver what you've been delivering for free all along. This is the psychology of constant availability. It doesn't create gratitude. It creates entitlement. Breaking this pattern requires something most people can't handle: disappointing others, letting messages go unanswered, not showing up, creating space where there used to be constant presence. It feels wrong at first. You'll feel guilty. You'll worry people will think you've changed for the worse. You'll wonder if you're being selfish. You're not. You're being sane. Because the alternative is spending your entire life responding to other people's agendas while your own life slips away, unexamined. The alternative is being the person everyone can count on while you can't count on yourself. The alternative is reaching the end and realizing you were always available for everyone except the one person who needed you most: yourself. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. No is self-preservation. Number 3, persona versus individuation. There are two versions of you. The first is the mask, the persona, the version you created to survive in society, the one that smiles at the right times, says the right things, behaves according to expectations. This version exists to be accepted, to fit in, to not cause problems. This version isn't you. It's a performance. The second version is buried underneath, raw, unfiltered, untamed. This is the self you've been suppressing your entire life because you learned early that being real comes with consequences: rejection, judgment, isolation. So you hid. And the mask became so convincing, you forgot you were wearing it. This is what psychologists call individuation. The process of becoming who you actually are instead of who you pretend to be. It's the death of the false self and the birth of the authentic one. And it requires one thing most people will never do: disappearing from the world that created the mask. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." He understood that the persona is a tool, necessary for survival, but dangerous when it becomes your identity. Because here's what happens when you live through the mask for too long. You lose yourself completely. You become a reflection of everyone else's expectations, a puppet dancing to strings you can't even see. Your decisions aren't yours. Your thoughts aren't yours. Your entire existence is a reaction to external demands. You become controllable, predictable, safe.
When cold and flu won't let you sleep, it's time to take action with Night Nurse. And if you wake up with cold...
Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. Power doesn't begin with money, fame, or social status. It begins in the mind. Look around you. The world worships empty crowns, designer suits, luxury cars, online followers. But beneath the surface, most people are mentally fragile. One insult breaks them. One failure destroys their confidence. One rejection makes them question their worth. They've built empires on sand because they've ignored the foundation of all power, the mind. Machiavelli understood this truth centuries ago. He said that the one who cannot control his own mind will forever be controlled by others. That's why the real battlefield of life isn't fought in boardrooms or on the streets. It's fought inside your head. And those who win that battle, those who conquer their emotions, silence their doubts and master their thoughts, they rule without a crown. Today, you're going to learn 10 dark lessons that will make you mentally dangerous. These are not feel-good lessons. They're not about comfort or peace or positivity. They're about control, dominance, and unshakable mental strength. The kind of mindset that makes you impossible to manipulate, impossible to read, and impossible to break. Because the truth is, in this world, people are either predators or prey. The strong control the weak, the disciplined control the impulsive, and the calm control the chaotic. But here's what they never tell you. True control doesn't come from the outside. It's born within. You can't command others if you haven't mastered yourself. You can't influence the world if you're still a slave to your emotions. And you can't rise above the crowd if you think like the crowd. That's why mental power is the ultimate weapon. It's silent, invisible, and deadly. This video will challenge you. It will force you to face your weaknesses, your fears, and your illusions. But if you stay until the end, you'll walk away sharper, calmer, and far more dangerous than before. Because once you master your mind, no one can touch you. Number 1. Mental power over external power. The world glorifies symbols of success, money, fame, status, possessions. But these things only reflect the surface of power. The truth is, they're fragile illusions. A man can have millions, but if he loses his composure in chaos, he's powerless. Another can own nothing, yet remain calm, strategic, and in control. That man holds true power. Machiavelli understood that external control means nothing without internal command. He once said that fortune controls half of life, but the other half belongs to the strength of our mind. A powerful mind can twist fate itself, turning failure into opportunity and pain into discipline. A weak one collapses under the same weight. The difference isn't in the situation, it's in perception. When you train your mind to dominate thought and emotion, circumstances no longer dictate your path. You stop reacting, you start directing. Real power begins when you no longer depend on outside validation to define your worth. When you can remain calm while others panic, confident while others doubt, focused while others crumble, that's when you become dangerous. Machiavelli would tell you, rule yourself first, because every empire begins within. Mental power shapes how you think, feel, and act under pressure. It's not about being emotionless, it's about being unshakable. When your thoughts obey you, when fear becomes a signal rather than a chain, when pain becomes fuel instead of defeat, you ascend to a level most people can't reach. You see through illusions. You act with precision. You stop being controlled by outcomes because you realize that control lies only in your response. The strong mind bends the world to its will. The weak mind bends under its weight. Build discipline, not dependence. Build clarity, not chaos. When you stop being ruled by comfort, you start being ruled by purpose. When your mind becomes your fortress, no one can breach it. Not insults, not failure, not loss. Power doesn't shout, it commands silently. The mind that cannot be moved is the mind that moves the world. Machiavelli once said, "He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior." Remember that before you seek to rule others. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my world through my mind. Number 2, emotional detachment. Emotions are powerful forces, but when they control you, they destroy your clarity, discipline, and strategy. The greatest weakness of most people is not ignorance, it's emotional impulsiveness. They react instantly to anger, envy, or fear, exposing their intentions before they even understand the game. Machiavelli once said that men are driven by either love or fear. and the wise ruler uses both without being consumed by either. Detachment is not about being heartless. It's about being in command. When you are detached, you feel deeply but act deliberately. You don't let anger make decisions for you. You don't allow disappointment to paralyze you. You learn to observe emotions as they arise, then decide how to use them. A detached mind is sharp because it is never clouded. It sees clearly when others drown in chaos. The one who can remain composed while everyone else breaks becomes the one who controls outcomes. Machiavelli knew that rulers who showed too much emotion invited manipulation. When people know what provokes you, they will use it against you. But when they can't read you, when your calm masks both your strength and your strategy, they become uncertain, cautious, and powerless. Emotional detachment gives you psychological dominance. It keeps your enemy guessing and your allies respecting. It turns pain into information, rejection into data, and betrayal into insight. Every emotional storm becomes fuel for greater understanding. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What does this teach me?" That shift is power. It transforms suffering into evolution.
Sanjuk Hybrid. Save up to £300 per booking with a MyTUI account. TUI, ATOL and ATA protected.
To detach is to protect your inner kingdom from invasion. When the mind becomes still, the body follows, and the soul regains balance. You begin to move like a chess master, unpredictable, patient, unprovoked. No reaction, only response. No chaos, only calculation. Machiavelli once said, "He who controls his passions controls his destiny." This control doesn't make you cold, it makes you precise. When emotions obey reason, your decisions become unbreakable. The world will try to pull you into its noise, insults, drama, temptation, but detachment keeps your focus pure. The one who feels everything but reveals nothing is untouchable. You become like a mirror, reflecting everything, absorbing nothing. That is the essence of mental dominance. True strength is calmness under fire, silence under pressure, and poise under attack. Remember this: the calm mind always wins. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I feel everything. Reveal nothing. Number 3, breaking the chains of approval. The hunger for validation is the invisible chain that keeps powerful minds enslaved. Most people live their entire lives chasing acceptance from family, friends, society, even strangers online. They measure their worth by opinions, likes, and applause. But every time you seek approval, you hand over control of your emotions. Machiavelli once said that men who depend on others for honor will never have true authority. Because when your self-image relies on external validation, you become predictable, desperate, and easy to manipulate. The approval seeker bends their character to fit expectations. The powerful one shapes expectations around his character. To become mentally dangerous, you must break free from the addiction of being liked. Understand this: approval is a form of control. People praise you when you serve their interests, and they reject you when you serve your own. When you no longer need their validation, you become immune to their manipulation. You stop living to please and start living to command. Machiavelli believed respect is not granted through begging or charm. It is enforced through strength, certainty, and consistency. You don't ask for respect. You project it through your actions, tone, and presence. Approval fades quickly, but power leaves a lasting mark. The weak chase acceptance. The strong create influence. When you act according to principle instead of popularity, your decisions start shaping your destiny instead of being shaped by fear of judgment. Every great ruler was criticized before they were praised. Every innovator was mocked before they were admired. And every mentally powerful person was misunderstood before they were respected. Detach from the need to be seen as good. Focus instead on being effective. The world respects results, not feelings. The man who no longer craves applause gains a mind that no insult can penetrate. When your self-worth becomes internal, your actions become unstoppable. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." This doesn't mean cruelty, it means strength of identity. Fear in this context means respect rooted in certainty. Love fades, but respect remains. Approval-seeking is the behavior of those who doubt themselves. Confidence is the expression of those who know who they are. When you stop asking permission to be great, you start embodying greatness. Silence the crowd inside your head. You don't need their validation. You need your vision. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I don't seek approval. I create respect. Number 4, predator versus prey mindset. In every arena of life, there are only two mental types, the predator and the prey. The predator moves with focus, patience, and calculation. The prey hesitates, reacts, and fears. The difference between the two isn't strength or intelligence, it's mindset. Machiavelli once said that a wise ruler must learn how to fight with both the lion's strength and the fox's cunning. The predator embodies both courage and strategy. It observes silently, studies movements, and strikes only when the outcome is certain. The prey wastes energy panicking, hoping, and overthinking. Mental predators don't chase approval or rush into emotional reactions. They play the long game. They understand timing is power. The predator never exposes its full capacity, never reveals intention, and never confuses action with reaction. It moves with purpose, not desperation. To develop the predator mindset, you must eliminate hesitation. Doubt is the prey's poison. The longer you think before acting on your plan, the more your confidence fades. But calculated silence is different from hesitation. It's observation. You watch not out of fear, but to predict. You move not because you're pushed, but because you've chosen the perfect moment. Machiavelli taught that those who wait for permission will forever live under those who act. The world belongs to those who claim it, not those who hope for it. The predator mindset doesn't mean aggression. It means awareness. It means seeing through deception, anticipating moves, and staying emotionally invisible. The mentally dangerous man studies human behavior like a hunter tracks movement in the forest, quietly, constantly, relentlessly. He knows who's weak, who's fake, who's useful, and who's a threat. He builds his environment strategically, not emotionally. The prey plays checkers. The predator plays chess. Every response, every silence, every smile has intent. You must stop thinking survival is about being liked. It's about being aware. Machiavelli once said, "The one who deceives will always find someone who lets himself be deceived." Don't be that person. Don't reveal your fears. Don't expose your plans. Move like water, calm, clear, and unstoppable. The calm mind hunts best because it's never rushed by impulse. When others panic, you stay composed. When others react, you analyze. The predator doesn't compete. It dominates by understanding. That's mental superiority. Silent, focused, and deadly. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I move with precision. Number 5. Psychological disguise. The most dangerous mind is the one that hides its truth behind a mask. Power thrives in silence and confusion. The moment others can predict your thoughts, you lose advantage. Machiavelli once said that rulers must appear virtuous, but act according to necessity. In other words, show people what they expect, while keeping your real motives hidden. Psychological disguise is not deceit, it is protection. It's the art of revealing nothing while observing everything. Weak minds crave to be understood. Powerful minds choose to be unreadable. When you let others see your emotions, they learn your triggers. When you let them know your ambitions, they learn how to block them. A concealed mind becomes an unsolvable mystery, and mysteries inspire both fear and fascination. That's control. You must learn to operate behind layers. Let your calm face hide your strategy. Let your words distract from your direction. Let your silence build curiosity that works in your favor. Machiavelli believed that perception shapes power more than truth. Therefore, mastering disguise allows you to shape how others react without revealing how you truly think. When people don't know whether you're weak or strong, angry or calm, lost or in control, they hesitate. That hesitation becomes your weapon. Psychological disguise creates unpredictability, and unpredictability is dominance. Never explain too much, never react immediately, never clarify every move. The unknown element keeps others guessing, and the guessing keeps you superior. The best manipulators are not loud. They are silent architects of confusion. They plant thoughts, shift narratives, and disappear behind their crafted image. Even when you speak truth, mix it with ambiguity. Machiavelli once said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." Meaning, people believe what they see, not what actually is. Use that blindness to your benefit. Appear calm when you're plotting, appear broken when you're rebuilding, appear harmless when you're sharpening your blade. Always control what they perceive. The mind that cannot be read becomes the mind that cannot be defeated. Every great strategist wears a mask, not to deceive the world, but to protect his kingdom. Remember, your thoughts are your fortress. Once they're exposed, the enemy walks through the gate. Learn to speak less, reveal less, and move more strategically. The world cannot destroy what it cannot understand. Be the storm behind the stillness, the fire behind the smile. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my shield. Number 6. Invisible power. The highest form of power is the one no one can see. The loudest leaders often fall first because they mistake visibility for control. Machiavelli once said that it is far safer to be feared than loved, but the most secure position is to be neither, only felt. Invisible power is influence without display, command without force, control without exposure. It is the silent authority that shapes outcomes without needing recognition. When your presence alters behavior without your words, you've reached mastery. The strong do not announce strength. They let others sense it. The weak shout to be noticed. The wise stay quiet and observe reactions. To build invisible power, you must learn the art of subtle manipulation. Not cruelty, but calibration. Influence perception instead of demanding obedience. Guide thoughts by positioning, not argument. When others think your ideas are their own, your control becomes absolute. Machiavelli taught that rulers must learn to act indirectly because direct force provokes resistance. The same principle applies to the mind. The invisible mind leads by presence, not pressure. It draws attention through mystery, not noise. The moment people can define your authority, they can measure it, and whatever can be measured can be overthrown. That's why the unseen strategist lasts longer than the visible ruler. Power that moves in silence can never be destroyed because no one can attack what they can't locate. Your goal should be to influence decisions without appearing to. Make others feel your absence more than your presence. When you walk away, your energy should still guide the room. When you speak, your words should echo long after silence returns. True mental dominance doesn't need confrontation. It bends reality through calm command. Machiavelli once said, "Men in general judge more by the sense of sight than by the sense of touch, because everyone can see, but few can feel." Invisible power flips that rule. You stop showing and start making them feel. When others can sense strength but can't trace its source, they obey instinctively. You become a psychological shadow, unseen yet unavoidable. The less you reveal, the more they imagine, and imagination is more powerful than truth. You ever notice how people test you, not with words, but with silence? They ignore your messages, make you wait, twist your emotions, just to see how much power they have over you. They want to see you chase, react, explode, because the moment you do, they know they've got you. Every time you lose control, you give someone the map to your mind. That's the modern game, control through emotion. They don't need to break you. They just need to make you feel. Your anger becomes their victory. Your guilt becomes their chain. Your sadness becomes their control. Machiavelli once said, "He who controls your emotions controls your fate." And that's exactly what most people fail to see. The world doesn't destroy you with force. It destroys you with emotional pressure. That's why the calm ones always win. The people who don't flinch, who don't react, who don't explain, they scare everyone. Because emotional control is power. It's silence that makes people nervous. It's calmness that creates confusion. It's restraint that builds dominance. To be emotionally dangerous means no one can predict your next move. You can feel pain and still smile. You can be insulted and still remain quiet. You can be doubted and still walk forward with certainty. That's when you become untouchable. You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove. You don't need to fight. Your silence does it for you. You become the storm people sense, but never see coming. Most people want to be loved, understood, accepted. But when you want nothing, when you stop reacting, you gain something much more powerful, control. Because the moment no one can control your emotions, no one can control your life. That's what makes you emotionally dangerous, calm, unreadable, unpredictable. And once you reach that level, you'll never be a puppet in someone else's game again. So, if you're ready to master your emotions instead of being mastered by them, stay with me. This will change the way you see every interaction in your life. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am emotionally untouchable. Number 1, the hidden trap of emotional manipulation. Most people don't realize when they're being controlled because it never looks like control. It looks like care, concern, love, or loyalty. But hidden beneath it is strategy. Emotional manipulation doesn't start with conflict. It starts with attention. Someone studies you, how you react, what makes you soft, what makes you angry. They collect your emotional data like a weapon. Then one day they use it. They make you feel bad for pulling away, question yourself when you're right, and doubt your own instincts. That's not connection, that's conditioning. The manipulator doesn't need to demand power. They just make you hand it to them willingly. And the way they do it is by controlling how you feel. Guilt is their favorite weapon. They'll say, I thought you were different, or you've really changed. Those phrases are not observations, they're traps. They're designed to make you second-guess your strength, to make you return to your submissive self. You see, emotional manipulators fear your calm more than your anger, because anger is predictable. Calm is not. When you're calm, you can't be controlled. Machiavelli once said, "Men are driven by two things, fear and interest." Manipulators mix both. They make you afraid of losing them, and they make you interested in winning their approval. That's how they control both your heart and your behavior. The most dangerous part? It feels emotional, not strategic, but it's both. When you start to feel heavy after talking to someone, when you feel drained instead of understood, that's not coincidence, that's control. They're feeding off your emotional reaction like energy, and when you stop reacting, they start panicking. That's when they'll accuse you of being cold or heartless. But that's just noise, the desperate cry of someone losing access to your emotions. The truth is, emotional manipulators hate silence because silence forces them to face themselves. Your silence is a mirror, and they can't stand what it shows them. So they'll try harder. Fake vulnerability, play the victim, promise change. But all of it is bait to pull you back into emotional dependency. The only way to break free is awareness. Once you can identify the pattern, the power returns to you. You begin to see through every act, every guilt trip, every silent treatment. And the moment you see through it, it stops working. You start watching instead of reacting. You let their manipulation echo into your calm. You let them perform while you observe. Because the moment you stop being emotionally available for manipulation, you stop being a target. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care intelligently. It means you understand the cost of emotional access. Not everyone deserves to reach your feelings. Some people only come close to them so they can use them against you. You must protect your emotions like currency. Only invest them where there's respect, not control. Once you learn that, you become free. Because no manipulator can survive without your reaction. They need your emotional chaos to feed their control. Take that away, and you starve them of power. That's how you win, not by fighting back, but by refusing to play. So the next time someone tries to guilt you, provoke you, or twist your emotions, remember, it's not a conversation, it's a test. Pass it by staying calm. Walk away without a word. Control yourself, and you control everything. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I see through manipulation.
Nissan Juke Hybrid. Athletic design.
Comments. I see through manipulation. Number 2. Machiavelli's law. Emotion is weakness. Most people believe that feeling deeply makes them human, but in reality, unbridled emotion is the easiest way to lose control of your life. Love, anger, fear, and even empathy are not inherently dangerous, but allowing them to rule you is. Every time you act on impulse, every time your mood dictates your choices, you hand over your power to someone else. Life doesn't care about your heart. It only responds to control. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He observed that rulers who allowed their feelings to interfere with their decisions always fell. He said, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality. All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration." In modern terms, that means people will take advantage of your visible emotions faster than they'll see your actual intent. Your sadness, your excitement, your anger. They become a roadmap for others to predict, manipulate, and overpower you. When you get angry at someone who insults you, they gain information. When you desperately seek approval, they know your weakness. When you fall in love too openly, they see the strings they can pull. Emotional transparency is vulnerability disguised as honesty. The strongest people in any room are not the loudest, the most charismatic, or the most passionate. They are the ones who do not allow their emotions to dictate their actions. They understand that reaction is surrender, and that true power lies in restraint. Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." This doesn't mean you should act cruelly or coldly toward everyone, but it does mean that attachment, sentiment, and uncontrolled feeling are weaknesses others will exploit. Anger must be measured, fear must be analyzed, and desire must be restrained. Otherwise, these emotions will consume you and make you predictable. People will sense your triggers, study your reactions, and use them against you. That's why leaders, thinkers, and survivors of history mastered the art of emotional control. They smiled while furious, they stayed silent while insulted, and they made decisions based on strategy rather than instinct. You can feel love without needing it. You can feel anger without exploding. You can feel fear without letting it paralyze you. That balance is the mark of someone emotionally dangerous. It is not the absence of feeling, but the presence of discipline. Every uncalculated response is a weakness someone will exploit. The world is not waiting to reward your goodness. It's waiting to exploit your lapses. If you allow your... Hey, warriors, welcome back to the channel. When someone tries to humiliate you, don't rush to defend yourself. Don't explain. Don't justify. Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing what controls you, because the moment you react, you've already lost. You've shown them where your buttons are, and worse, that they work. Machiavelli understood a truth most people still refuse to face. The world doesn't respect emotions. It studies them. Every time you rise to anger, every time you argue to prove a point, every time you let someone pull a reaction out of you, you are teaching them exactly how to manipulate you. People don't insult you because they hate you. They insult you to test you. They want to know if they can shake your ground. If your self-image is fragile enough to be shattered by a few words. That's why the strongest men in history didn't win arguments. They mastered silence. They didn't defend themselves. They let others expose their own weakness through overexposure. Because here's the dark truth. The one who reacts, reveals. The one who stays calm, controls. An insult isn't just an attack. It's an invitation. It's the world asking you, do you know who you are? Or do you need me to remind you? And the moment you answer emotionally, you've already surrendered your power. You've let someone else define your worth. But the one who can stand still, who can let the chaos unfold around him without losing his center, becomes terrifying. Not because he's aggressive, but because he's unreadable. Because nothing exposes people faster than their reaction to your silence. So next time someone tries to insult you, don't give them your energy. Let them speak. Let their noise echo in their own insecurity. Because the truth is, only unstable people need to prove they're unshaken. The truly strong don't flinch. They simply watch.
Fast, unbeatable strength, and up to 24-hour relief from aches and pains of cold and flu.
Enjoy every magical moment of Wicked this Christmas.
Don't flinch. They simply watch. Machiavelli once said, "He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still." Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my power. Number 1. The psychology behind insults. Every insult carries a hidden intention. It's not about the words, it's about control. People use insults like probes, pressing into your mind to see what makes you twitch when someone mocks you, criticizes your appearance, questions your worth, or sneers at your choices. They're not communicating. They're conducting an emotional experiment. They want to see your temperature rise. They want to discover what emotions dominate your system. Insults are not accidents of speech. They're carefully placed triggers designed to expose weakness. In truth, an insult says far more about the speaker than the target. Yet most people never see it that way. They take it personally, feed into it, and unknowingly hand over their emotional data to the person who insulted them. This is why Machiavelli warned rulers and men of power to remain unreadable, because predictability is the death of dominance. When someone insults you, they are not really attacking you. They are trying to measure you. They are asking, what breaks you? What hurts you? What truth do you fear others will see? The more you respond, the more information you give them. They now know which weapon to use next time. And so, what began as a small emotional test turns into a system of control that repeats until you lose the ability to remain grounded. People who understand this psychology can reverse the game entirely. Instead of being tested, they become the observer. They watch calmly as others expose their own inner instability. Because here's what happens. When someone insults you and you stay silent, they start to feel lost. Their experiment fails. Their need for control collapses. The silence burns them more than any comeback ever could. They begin to wonder what kind of mind doesn't react to ridicule. That's when power quietly shifts. Machiavelli once said, "Men are so simple and so much creatures of circumstance that the deceiver will always find someone ready to be deceived." What he meant was that emotion makes people predictable, and predictability makes them easy to manipulate. The one who can't control their anger, their pride, or their need to be liked will always dance to someone else's tune. But the one who studies before reacting, who pauses long enough to read intention instead of words, becomes impossible to manipulate. So, next time someone throws verbal poison at you, don't absorb it. Analyze it. Don't respond. Record. Because in every insult, there's a piece of truth about the one who delivered it. Their insecurity, their envy, their desperation for relevance. Remember this. Insults are psychological mirrors. They reflect the instability of the one throwing them. When you understand that, no word can wound you anymore. You don't just hear their insult, you decode it. And once you can decode people, you control the interaction. That is the real power behind emotional intelligence. Not softness, but strategic awareness. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I see through the noise. Number 2. The Machiavellian principle, control the frame. Power isn't always about dominance. Often it's about control over the frame, the invisible space where meaning is decided. Most people lose power not because they are weak, but because they accept someone else's frame of reality. When a person insults you, they're inviting you into their frame, one built on provocation, emotion, and chaos. The moment you react, you step into their arena and play by their rules. But Machiavelli understood that the one who defines the frame defines the outcome. He wrote that perception is stronger than truth because people live by appearances, not reality. So the wise don't fight inside someone else's perception. They reshape it from the outside. When you stay calm under insult, you instantly shift the frame. You make the aggressor look desperate while you appear composed. The focus moves from the words they used to the contrast between your stillness and their instability. Suddenly, they're the one under the microscope, not you. This is why emotional control is not just maturity, it's strategy. Every time you choose not to engage in a battle of egos, you silently redefine the hierarchy. You move from being a participant to being the observer, and the observer always has the upper hand. The person who reacts loses status. The one who stays centered gains gravity. It's like a chess player who doesn't rush after being attacked, but repositions with precision, waiting for the other to overextend. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." He knew that reacting emotionally makes you predictable, while controlling the frame makes you timeless. When you remain calm, people start to question their own emotions. They begin to doubt the validity of their own aggression. Your stillness acts as a mirror that reflects their lack of discipline. They may raise their voice, but your silence raises the tension. They may attempt to provoke, but your unshaken energy exposes their childishness. Slowly, they lose confidence in their attack. And that's how the frame collapses. The true Machiavellian never seeks validation from others. He sets the emotional temperature of the room. He doesn't chase dominance. He becomes the environment others must adapt to. When you master this, you no longer react to people. They start reacting to you. That's when you step into the invisible realm of influence, where the strongest power is quiet and effortless. You begin to control perception not by words, but by presence. Remember, control of the frame is control of meaning, and control of meaning is control of minds. Every time you stay calm in a storm, you rewrite the power dynamic without saying a word. That's why composure isn't weakness. It's authority disguised as restraint. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I control the frame.